Hello, everybody. We're just waiting for Nick, who will be moderating the chat for you guys. So just bear with us for a few moments. I'm just going to launch into Grand Central Station where I'll hang around. Thank you all for joining. Looking forward to your questions. You can probably see this is my little multiverse room at the moment. So I'm just going to mute the mic for a second, just set everything else up, make sure that Nick gets here. He'll be here in a couple of moments. And then we can start the tour proper. Okay? Thank you very much. Okie dokes, guys. I'm just going to get us into the Grand Central Station. I'm going to get my headphones on so I can't hear anything at the moment. So if Nick or Nathan or any of the admins are there, just bear with me for a moment, please. Oh, that's the wrong headset. That's the right. It's pretty hard doing this when you're blind, basically. Right. I think everything's set up on my end. I'm recording. So what I'll do is I'll just take us into Grand Central Station to start with. This is where most of the journeys that we go on begin. And I'll just hang around in here. Now you will see other people in this space. Like over there, for example. Somebody's just left. So that's usually the sign. Oh, just popping in actually. Yeah, just popping in. Hi there. How you doing? You alright? Oh, they've changed it from... it used to be just thumbs up and now it's hearts. Ah, very good. You squeeze your triggers and then put your thumbs up. There you go. There you go. Excellent. Hey, how you doing? Oh, we're just doing little thumbs up like that. Like that. Yeah, like this. There you go. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, look, everybody's joining us. Hello. Do you like the multiverse, guys? You happy? Do you want to do a high five? Who wants to high five? Come on, give me a high five, buddy. Come on then. Oh, I've disappeared. There we go. Come on. There we go. High five. Come on. Yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry. I am sitting down. Oh, there's a lot of people here, isn't there? I'm going to just pop down here for a minute, okay? Right, so as you can see, it's a social VR experience already. Right, I'm just going to quickly take off the headset and see if you guys can see what's going on. Okie doke. So, Nick is muted. All right, I'm just unmuting Nick. Sorry, Nick.
No, you're fine. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. Yes, yes. Hold on, but you're coming through my speakers, which is a bit insane. Let me just sort this stuff out very quickly. and then we can crack on with everything. It's really hard to see without my glasses. Input settings, here we are. Call settings, let's try that one. Input device. Why is that's okie dokes. Can you guys hear everybody else talking in the multiverse space? Or not?
We're not seeing the screen.
You're not seeing the screen? Okay, that's... Right, can you see the screen now?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All good. All right, well, we'll just faff around. Now, I've got all the settings. It'll just go black for a second before we go in. Hey, guys. God, we're surrounded here. Sorry? I did not, no. Sorry? Nick, can you guys hear our friends talking? Okay. Some murmuring. Okay. Okay, cool. Oh, I got your friend request. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okie dokes. Right. So, I'm gonna say goodbye to you guys now. You guys can hang around with me if you want, but I'm doing a tour for some friends, so you guys can hang around if you want. Otherwise, we'll see you later, okay? Let's try the high five again. Eli. There you go. All right, we'll see you later. Have a lovely day. Right, well, I'm just going to... somebody's mic is on. Somebody's mic is on. Can you hear that, Nick? We've got a mic on somewhere, Nick. There we go. Right. Okie dokes. Right, Nick, I'm at your disposal, buddy. Let me know when you're ready to rock and roll, and we'll start with everything. Yeah, well, I'll just give you a very quick overview of where we are now. So this is the multiverse. This is Grand Central Station. You probably didn't see, but you start in your own room. These are all real people. If we wave at them, they should say hello. And they're all probably going to stick with us on this tour. So bear with us. These are real people that are in their headsets in this multiverse space. So what we're going to do is... I'm just going to very quickly show you what's going on here. Grand Central Station is like the starting point for your journey through the multiverse, and we will be one of these rooms that come off into other multiverses, so you'll be able to visit other things. So, for example, the chat room, there's an exhibitions room, which is quite nice. There's a developer zones for your developer. There's the Planetarium, which we'll pop into a little bit later because I want to show you how that works. But this is where your story, this is where your journey starts. And as you can see, at the moment, this is all obviously San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge and everything else. So, and it's quite nice, but this will eventually be turned into the Infiniverse, which is basically the multiverse sits in the Infiniverse, and the Infiniverse is like an ever-expanding city. So that's all good. So this is the multiverse. Before we head into the checkpoint room, I'll take some questions, Nick, now if you want. Guys, can I just ask you to just hold on for a minute because I'm doing a stream, okay? And I can't hear them. So just give me one moment, all right? Thank you. Right, Nick, go. I am. It's a good question. I mean, language and localization is always something that's been something that people have to think about. But ultimately, what we are doing is creating communities that can access the multiverse. Now, there is a plan for future language down the line. How we spread the word is literally by the quality of our content, really. So, guys, can I just ask you to be quiet just a minute? Is that all right? Just a minute, okay? Thank you. Um, Thank you, thank you. So the idea is that we create the communities and the communities find us. And obviously, if there is a demand for a specific language, then that's something that we can look at further on down the line. So it's as far as spreading awareness, I mean, we are really the only multiverse. I mean, when I say we, this multiverse by Future Tech Labs is really the only kind of properly interactive, completed, constantly updated multiverse. And you can see from the guys here that it's already populated, it's already being kind of used, and there are some amazing little features within this. And there's lots more that I have no authority to talk to you about because it's not our space, but we're partners with Future Tech Labs, who the guys who have built this space. So we know, and we're very involved in kind of what we're doing in this space. So we have an influence, if you like, over what we want the development to look like, especially for our own space. Next question, Nick. I hope that answers the question. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so the roadmap you can find on the orange paper. I'm sure Nick will pop a link to that as well. It's probably easier to kind of for you to have a look at the orange paper than it is for me to try to explain the roadmap. But our achievements, I mean, look, we've been around for 5 years. I've been in the games industry for more than 15 years. And since before we started Checkpoint, I was the editor for a video game website, the second largest in Europe it got to. We also launched Arabic Gamers, which was the first ever video game website in both Arabic and English. And we helped with localization. So we're very much entrenched in the games industry. Checkpoint was born actually out of Arabic Gamers. And when we first launched the brand, it was just one physical, or not physical, one digitally interactive magazine. Since then, and over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, especially in the last sort of 2 years, the brand has kind of gone much larger. We now have 2 interactive magazines, one for the kids, one for grown-ups. We have 4 podcasts that are already available for people to download. We have learning materials that we do for schools and for home. And a plethora of other things that we've got. The Bedtime Stories, which are their own thing as well. So we're not coming to the table with an idea. We've got an established brand that already delivers content across multiple platforms, and we see Web3, blockchain, and this kind of whole multiverse setup as the future. Okay. Okay, so what we're solving is this kind of, I think I'll start with that. What we're solving is this kind of idea of how to use Web3 and the blockchain and the multiverse to deliver content and to deliver a meaningful content experience. Nobody else really does that. And with the proliferation of these things, obviously what's going to happen is, and this is something that we discussed in a previous article, things are going to go behind paywalls. That's just how things will happen. People want to control their spaces. People will want to have memberships. People want to have data to sell. So there are many barriers to entry, as it were. We're not doing any of that. We don't ask you to sign up or sign in. We don't take your data. All of our content will be free forever. And our revenue model doesn't rely on your data being sold. So there's that element of the multiverse, and we're trying to show how the multiverse can actually be used for good, in conjunction with our brand. So there's that element there. Sorry, what was the other part of the question, Nick? I'm being distracted. You guys need to just be quiet for a minute, okay? Oh yeah. So the competitive advantage of Checkpoint is that we already exist and we're already a multi-platform content service. That's what we already are. We're not we have multiple platforms and multiple ways to interact with our content. If you don't like reading, you can listen. If you don't like listening, you can watch. If you don't like watching, you can submit. So there's a whole way of kind of getting involved with what we're doing at Checkpoint. And that's, I think, our competitive advantage is that we're the only people in this space really looking at this and developing and producing content for here. Does that help?
Yes, that's a great answer. I just wanted to position ourselves as a metaverse content, pioneer of sorts. Okay, one more question, and then because I'm missing some more information, I want to get back to it. Have you considered to go into such big markets like Epic Games or Steam, or will this be Oculus exclusive sort of app?
Oh well, I mean, yeah, no. I mean, look, the idea with the whole point of us getting the funding to start with is to make this accessible without a headset. So we are working with Future Tech Labs to make this browser based, to make it available on devices, whatever it is. So you don't need a VR headset. Um, I think San already released this multiverse space. I think it's already on Steam. I think it was released last week, or there's an app for it. Let me come back to you on that. I'll speak to Sam, but I think it's already available. But it won't be. No. It's not exclusive to Oculus, and the first thing that we're going to do is make this accessible to everybody. Does that work? Happy? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to disappear. I'm going to disappear quickly from here because. So where I'm taking you now is to the checkpoint entrance lobby. This is the starting point of your journey within our multiverse. So this is the first room that you come into, and this is where you will generate. I'm sure that the other guys will pop in and follow me in a minute. So I've muted them, but forgive me. They're kids. They're having fun, but you can see it's a lovely little kind of a space for people to get involved and do all of that stuff as well. Here he is. So what I'll do is I'll just very quickly show you now. If you're sitting next to a computer, before I turn around, I'd quite like for you to, maybe if you can, go to www.checkpointhub.info. If you go to checkpointhub.info, what you will see is kind of like our access point, if you like, into the brand. Not everything's on there, and that's quite old, so forgive it. We haven't really kind of developed it much, but the idea is that will give you kind of like an access point to all of the brands, right? So what do we do then once we've done it? So how do we kind of transfer that idea of kind of portals and access into the multiverse? We've got so many. We've got the magazine, we've got the kids magazine, we've got the bedtime stories, we've got the podcasts, we've got documentaries, we've got loads of amazing things that we're doing. So how do we then translate that and allow it for easy access into the multiverse? I'm just not going to turn around until it's fully loaded, so we're just waiting for the scenery to load up on my end, as well as the clouds and stuff. So the idea is that we make it accessible in the same way through a browser, but actually in the multiverse. So as you can probably see, I don't know how clear it is for you guys here, but we've got different doors, and these doors will take you to the different parts of the brand, and we'll visit some of these places in a minute so you can have a look at them. But that's the idea. So we make that accessible portal in the same ways we would do in Web 2.0 through here. And that's how you interact with the brand. Now, before we go and start looking at some of these rooms, I'm just going to quickly show you some of these rooms. Now, you can see the Schaefer room. For those of you that are gamers, you obviously know Tim Schaefer. You're from previous. Eli, can I just ask you to stand behind me, buddy, because you're blocking the view of everything. Okay. So we've got Miyamoto room, Schaefer room, and these are just little breakout rooms that people can access and just sit down. I mean, you can sit down on any of the furniture if you want, and you can get involved with any of the content here as well. So the idea is you're able to access these rooms and just kind of look at some of the stuff. We use them as showcases really for what we've done. So in this room you can see some of the stuff that we've done with the kids, Kerbal Space Program, and a page from the magazine. So these give you just a kind of like a little bit of an area to kind of get involved with. And then you've got this is our Bedtime Stories room. So just little breakaway rooms that you can kind of get involved with. And then obviously that's loaded up, so I'll just quickly take you out here. This will be replaced with the Infiniverse eventually. So even though this is a static image at the moment now, you will be able to see the whole Infiniverse. So everybody that's kicking around will have their own property and you'll be able to see them in the Infiniverse, which is pretty amazing. So this is kind of like our entrance lobby. This is where everybody comes to meet, and this is where everybody gets to know each other. And then from here you can then explore the brand, which will go on to there. And that's what if you haven't been to checkpointhub.info, that's what you'll see. So you'll be able to. So this is effectively a VR version of this. I'm just going to pop into the explore the brand, and when I get in there as it's loading, Nick, if you want to start firing some questions, that'd be great. Okay, let's get some of these questions answered.
So next question, this is a good one to cover. Tell us a little bit about currently the biggest challenges you're facing in terms of becoming a successful project or company.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the significant challenges I think that we face is education, and that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to educate people that the multiverse, the blockchain, Web3. I mean, they're here. They're the future, right? So that's and making people understand that it's a meaningful experience that you can have in these multiverse spaces is really, really, really important. So I think that's one of the main challenges that we have to face. As a company, I think that it's the same. I think it's the same thing. We're on the cutting edge of technology. Now, you guys are obviously visiting this and you're having a look at what we're doing in the VR space, and I'll take you around here in a little moment. But the challenge isn't so much the technology, it's the adoption of technology and making people understand how it works. So I think really that's our key challenge. As far as content and accessibility and all that kind of stuff, we've been in the games industry for a long time. We have access to everybody pretty much. Do you know what I mean? So we're not worried about producing content like we do normally, but I think it's that mass adoption, which is why we come back to that kind of browser-based access. It's so important for there not to be a barrier to entry to our content. You will be able to obviously engage with the Web 2.0 content. That's not going anywhere, but we want people to engage in the Web 3 content, and it's really, really important that there is no barrier to entry. So you can, whatever device you have, you'll be able to access it. I think really that's going to be our biggest challenge, but you'll see from our roadmap, we work with Future Tech Labs and they know what our plans are. We have a time frame, and a time frame is a matter of months, not years, in which we can make that happen, because obviously you can see it all already exists. Yeah?
Okay, thank you, Tamer. Next question will be Jack KYC. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'd like to know about the future plans for the project. Will it be on a blockchain?
Yes, I mean, look, It will be. I'm pretty sure it will be. There are much smarter people than I working on cross-chain stuff. Cross-chain is coming. I don't think it's anything that we really need to be worried about because that will integrate. I mean, look, cross-chain has been something that's been discussed for as long as I've been in crypto, which is, since about 2015-16. Um, so it's coming and it'll happen. I think we don't really. That's not something that I'm concerned about because in order for multiverses and blockchains to work, they have to communicate with one another. So yes, the simple answer to that is yes, we'll cross that bridge as and when we need to. But we are, just so that everybody's clear, we are on the Cardano blockchain, and that's where we intend to stay. Look at those guys having a great little chat about our stuff. Does that answer it?
Yes, it's perfect. Next question from Ismail. In addition, I guess we got a few of these questions, so let's just address one thing. As far as compliance and security being very important to the long-term development of content, what do you do? What are the plans in terms of security audits, contract audits?
Yeah.
Explain and be transparent about that upcoming.
Yeah. So it's really important that you guys understand that we are writing our smart contracts after we do the IDO, and they will be audited. All of our smart contracts for whatever we're doing, whether it's the tokens or the NFTs, they will go through an audit process. We haven't written the smart contract yet. We intend to do that pretty quickly. It's the first thing that we're going to do post IDO is get the contracts written. And yeah, we're obviously security is key for us. Accessibility, affordability is also key for us, which is why we've chosen the Cardano blockchain. And in addition to that, the Cardano blockchain is really the only blockchain with any scientific research or backing, with over 100 papers done on it. So, we're very much believers in that kind of in that security space, and I think it's important that you guys understand that. Is that all right?
Yes, just to add that audit will be done by a major trustworthy auditing company, either Searching, somebody of that nature. So we're fully above board with all this.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that. Absolutely.
I just wanted to mention certain because
Yeah.
they're
So as you're asking other questions, I'm just going to quickly walk around here so that people can get an idea of the room, and then I can talk about the content.
you can go through this room
Okay.
and
So I'll just go quickly show you. This is the main magazine room. So these are some of the features. So just to give you a very quick idea, in a nutshell, Checkpoint looks at the impact of video games on society, culture, politics, and education, and what we can learn from video games to apply in real life. Now, people don't know this, but there's a lot you can learn, transferable skills, and some very few examples that I've done is, for example, I've done a so I'll show you when we go around. But we've done some stuff about the history of stealth games and how AI is developed. We've done stuff with Syrian Livingston about RPG games and how they became from choose your own adventure stories to kind of proper RPG games, those mud games that you initially had. Brian Fargo, who's the founder, or he's the guy that invented Fallout 3, for example, Wasteland, not Fallout 3, Fallout the franchise, and then he had to go off and do Wasteland and come back. So we've got access to some amazing talents. David Braben, who's Frontier Games, is CEO of Frontier Games, and we speak to him about the space exploration stuff and how what they're doing within their video games for space feeds back into NASA and into the European Space Agency for major calculations. Sir Jason Kingsley, I don't know why I didn't put Sir, but Sir Jason Kingsley, who's from Rebellion, we spoke to him about Sniper Elite, for example, and how is it that when you play a game like Sniper Elite that the whole world rests on somebody like Carl Fairburn, who, if it weren't for him, apparently the Nazis would have won. So this idea of kind of the changing face of history and historical facts through video games, We also did an issue on big data. This is just one of our front covers. By the way, our front covers are all animated. So if you download the magazine, which is free, if you didn't know that already, all of our content is free. The front cover animates, and you'll see some cool animations. And all of our magazines are fully interactive. So you can interact with video, audio. You can listen to stuff. You can. There are in the kids magazines. There are sketch pads and word puzzles that you can do, and it's all within the magazine. So this one was all about big data and how we looked at big data. So the games like Watch Dogs, and how realistic is the stuff that they're doing in Watch Dogs to real life? The answer is, of course, very realistic. And the Watch Dogs guys, developers, didn't even know how realistic some of the stuff that they were doing with. So we tend to connect industry to video games. We spoke to a former GCHQ MI6 data analyst who spoke about the kind of the digital space and the data protection and big data and what's happening, as well as the developers, as well as the guy who wrote. I mean, if you're gamers, you'll know Sam Lake. Sam Lake was the guy that invented Alan Wake, Max Payne. He's Remedy's Quantum Break, and Quantum Break was featured in this. So you'll be able to listen to that documentary. So we tried to look at the big, questions around video games. This is a really interesting one. You may want to pay attention to this cover and the guy on front of it, because there is going to be a question that you'll need to answer for this, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. So Kobe Bryant. On this cover, we look at the way in which sport has been influenced by video games and what we can learn from sports. And there's some really amazing interviews that we've done in here. So, for example, if I just turn around very quickly, if we go to this plaque here, playing the crowd. So when the pandemic hit, for example, one of the issues that we had with football games in this country, or soccer games, was that there was nobody there. So there was no atmosphere, so there was no crowds. So EA and Sky Sports, which are a broadcaster here in this country, work together to create artificial kind of crowd sounds for the matches, so that the players didn't feel so removed. So these are the kinds of deep dives that we do into the magazine. Gaming and children, we look at the impact of gaming and children. When the pandemic hit, obviously parents were freaking out about their children being on screens, but we were absolute advocates of it, and obviously that's all explained in the audio documentary that we did, as well as the content within it. I'm not going to go too much into it, but actually screen time, if it's monitored, as in you are engaging with your child, actually is better for you. When we've spoken to a guy called Douglas Gentile, who's a doctor in this space, he's been working as a psychologist in this space and is used for a lot of things when it comes to the psychology of children and whatnot. So what we try to do is connect these really interesting conversations to video games. And then here are some of the examples of the pages that we do in the magazine. As you can see, this is looking at what makes a great persistent world shooter. In here we did a whole issue on Japanese roleplay games, and we looked specifically at the Yakuza and had some really interesting interviews with people that have worked with the Yakuza as well. So we tried to look at the kind of the wider impact on games. Women in gaming, such a huge deal. This is something that people need to understand, that this isn't a male-oriented world, and there are some amazing women like Shannon Loftus, who's one of the top people at Microsoft, really making an impact in gaming. And again, there we've got Megan Marie, who was the community manager at Crystal Dynamics when Lara Croft went through her whole kind of rebirth and rebranding stuff. Lara Croft was obviously, of course, invented by Sir Ian Livingstone at IDOS. Again, strategies, we're looking at strategies. So I apply some strategies that I learned from real-time strategy games and turn-based strategies in my real life. So we talk about these kinds of wider subject matters. And that's the main magazine. There's Carl Fairbairn. We did an audio documentary. So that interview that we did is an audio documentary that you can listen to. So if you don't want to read it, you can listen to me speaking to Professor Alan Woodward and Sam Lake and the developers from Ubisoft and other hackers and bits and pieces. Now, the kids magazine
is a response to the pandemic. We were already going to be doing a kids magazine for kids in the summer. Then the pandemic hit, and we thought, you know what, we'll put a magazine out for kids by kids. And what do we mean by that? We encourage children to use that understanding of video games to learn more about the world around them. We create a whole host of learning materials to support them. So we go into schools, give them to the teachers. The teachers then use them, and they all adhere to the national curriculum. It's really important that if somebody is using these lessons, that they are actually learning the national curriculum. The national curriculum in this country is basically the framework for education, so everybody has to adhere to the national curriculum, and this is what we do. They've been met with great success, and what we do is not only do we use the video games as the platform to teach children, we also connect them to industry. If you speak to any kid, they'll want to be a YouTuber. They don't realise that there's legal stuff. You could be a writer, you could be a game designer, you could be an audio designer, you could do the marketing for it, you could do the accountancy of it. I mean, the games industry is huge, and this is the kind of thing that we're trying to kind of impart to children. But not only do our lesson plans deliver attainment targets for the national curriculum, but we also connect the children to wider industry. So, for example, we've worked with we've worked with Team GB. This is Sam Oldham. He was a GB medalist in the 2012 Olympics, gymnast. So he spoke about how he used video games and what he does to inspire the children to learn. We spoke to the National Schools Observatory and about how they use telescopes to study the stars, and what games have helped the scientists there understand space and everything else. We've spoken to the United Nations, so we set up these interviews for children to actually connect with people and find real meaningful connection. The European Space Agency, I mean, this was one of my favourite ones actually. We got the children to play a game we didn't get them to play a game called Mars Horizon. We created and that's the other thing actually, we never endorse playing the game in the class. I have to make that clear as well. We don't encourage the playing of the game in the class. We use the game as the pretext or the context for the lesson. And this one was amazing. We used a game called Mars Horizon, where it looks at the overall strategy and planning of a mission out in space. And then we spoke to the European Space Agency. But not only do we speak to the European Space Agency, we spoke to the Solar Orbiter team. So the guys that are literally flying this thing right now around the sun. The kids were able to speak to the operations manager for the whole mission, as well as the guy that flies the actual satellite. So we try, and what was amazing from that was that they said, look, that guy that flies the orbiter was saying that he used Kerbal Space Program at university to understand space, because he was able to actually mess around and fail. He was actually able to create rockets because it's so realistic that these are transferable skills that they can move on. Now, these lessons stay with the children forever, but it's not just those kinds of lessons. We give the magazine to the children, so we make them the guest editors, and then they choose what they want to write about in the magazine. We give them a theme, and then they talk about how they use the lesson and how they use the magazine and what it is. The kids never leave the magazine, so all of our games and our crosswords and all of that kind of stuff, sketch pads are all built within the magazine, because safety is so important to us, and safeguarding the children is vital. So making sure that they don't leave the magazine to go to different websites is really important for us. And actually, just on one more note before we kind of move on with this stuff, is that we encourage the children to send in all of their work. So we want the children to send in all of the work that they've done, and we want to celebrate the stuff that they're doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. Here we've got the Bedtime Stories. They're also free, so you can listen to them on any of your podcast providers, or you can download our app or whatever. But these are these ethereal, beautiful stories, and I promise you they will put your children to sleep if you have children. And if you don't have children and you have problems sleeping yourself, then I highly recommend that you download these. So this is kind of a very quick overview, if you like, of what we're doing or what's already available. And by the way, everything I've showed you is available and it's free. You can get to any of this stuff if you go to checkpointhub.info, or if you click on the links, or if you check out the orange paper, you can get to any of this stuff. So that's just very briefly a quick outline on the brand as it stands and what we're hoping to do in the near future. There's so much more that I want to say, and I can't remember. There was something else that I wanted to talk about the kids magazine as well. It was made, like I said, as a response to the pandemic, and it's there to help educate children. We can talk more about it. It'll come to me later. So I'll take some questions now before we move on to the next room, if that's all right, Nick. Thank you, guys. Yeah. I'll answer that. I'll just answer that one quickly. We aren't built purely for crypto or blockchain. We've been around for a lot longer than that, so we already have a non-crypto user base, and that is part and parcel of our product. We are a magazine. We're a content provider. We're not a crypto business, and I think that's important to recognize. We are utilizing the blockchain and we are utilizing Web 3.0 to enhance the business offering. So yes, and that's what the ubiquitous access to the multiverse using your browser or anything else will allow non-crypto users to do it. Plus, you don't need to be a crypto user to engage with our content. So I'll leave that one there. Sorry, Nick, I interrupted you. Yes and yes. Look, we've been in the games industry for a very long time. We know everybody that we need to know, but we also understand how the games industry feels about crypto, NFTs, and blockchain. And we're in a very unique position to communicate our vision. And because we have integrity and we've been around a lot and people know who we are, we're able to have those conversations. So we're never going to say to you, yeah, we've got a partnership with, Epic, or we've got a partnership with Fortnite, or we've got a partnership with this, without knowing that we do. But all I can say to you is we know everybody that we need to be talking to. We have already been talking to them. Any ideas that you have, we've already had, and we're developing. And don't worry, it's under control, and there will be partnerships announced. You have to understand the game space. And you have to understand the difficulty with all the noise around crypto, whatever that is, whether it's price drops, whether it's FUDs, whether it's NFTs, whatever it is. These are traditional businesses with traditional business models, and it's a very scary thing for them to enter that space. Now, if you guys are gamers and you know gamers, you will have seen in the last few months the complete and utter backlash on NFTs, right? That's just one example. We know how to communicate that. We're not making massive claims, and we have got stuff in the pipeline. I just cannot tell you what they are, and I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. But rest assured, we're fine. Wow. Okay. We're free. That's the first one. Second of all, we have a variety of content. Like, it's not. This isn't an idea that we've had. This is something that we've already done. We're the only people, I think, that really have any decent content for the multiverse. And third of all, we're not wasting money building multiverses. That's not what we do. We are building brand experiences and lots of other amazing things, which I can't, again, tell you about in full detail, but this will give you a good idea. So instead of us building this multiverse, we work with Future Tech Labs. At the moment, it's just a gallery, but you will be able to interact with all of this stuff. So you'll be able to play a button and it'll play the audio. You'll be able to pick up elements. You'll be able to see, and there will be some videos that you'll be able to see a little bit later on as well that you'll see in the room. So the 3 killer features, we're free, we already exist, and we know what we're doing, and we're not building in the way that everybody else is. We've got content and we're here. I mean, you saw, for those of you that saw I think I've really upset the other guys, but you saw the number of people that already exist in this multiverse space. So So that's it. That I think those are. I think for me, those are our killer features. I don't know, Nick. What do you think? I mean, I don't know if they're good enough.
Yeah, I think you understand the gist of it. Feel free to add more later. Next, one more question, I guess, and then we can go on a little bit.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. Well, I'll get us back to where we need to go to, and then we'll. Oh, shizzles! I didn't mean to do that actually.
Greg, sorry. How can like people who don't know about crypto DeFi use the platform? Most investors only care about the immediate benefits rather than the real value it offers in the long term. How can your project convince users to invest in the platform over the long term?
Well, that's a good question, but it's also a difficult question. I mean, look, you're investing in the brand, right? I think the best way to kind of put it is that you're investing in Checkpoint. You're not, and the project isn't going anywhere. Not only that, the project isn't reliant, as I said before, on crypto. There are lots of things that make this attractive to investors, and not least the fact that we have multiple revenue streams. For example, anything that you can see here could be made an advert. You know, we can have interactive adverts, we can have game demos, we can have, and this is just the multiverse. Remember, we already have two existing magazines. By the way, we will never advertise to children on any of the platforms, so it doesn't matter what you get. If the children have got children, there are no advertising. So actually, only one magazine technically, but there are advertising in the magazine. There's advertising in the on the websites. There's advertising or sponsorship opportunities for the podcast. So we're not reliant on crypto. We are using this space to demonstrate how we can make content interaction better. So the long-term project, and that's the point, we can never speculate on the price of a coin or the price of DeFi, but we are not a DeFi project. This is not what we're doing. We're not trying to be a DeFi project. We're not a security project. We're not this. We are a content brand, content creator, and we are putting our content in the multiverse. So I hope that answers the question. I know it's a little bit of a kind of a difficult one to get your head round, but once you read the orange paper, and if you haven't, I highly recommend that you go check it out, because it'll be made a lot clearer in the orange paper.
Thank you. Next question is kind of building off of that. Ismail, how does project increase token value, liquidity, and utility? How do you envision token pricing? What is your plan to make the project yield the highest performance for the investors over the long term?
Well, over the long term, the highest price for the investors means the success of the business. It's quite simple, really. That it's tied intrinsically with one and the other, and in order to make the coin stable, if you like, if that's the word that you want to use. That's why we've gone down a dual tokenomics route, because the governance token is exactly that. It's a share, effectively, in the traditional sense, in Checkpoint. So you will be able to have a say in what we develop and how we develop it and what's going on. So there's that. The utility token, I'm not a big believer of inflationary prices, and that's another reason why we're on the Cardano blockchain, right? So the idea is that we want to create a liquidity within the utility token to allow people to invest and buy, like you would do Robux or V-Bucks or whatever in-game currency that you're using to buy content in a game. That's the same thing. Now that price never really changes, right? It's stable to the, you spend $10 and you get 800 Robux, or you spend $10 and you get 1,000 whatever V-Bucks, or whatever, however it works, whatever that scale of economy is. But it's not about kind of trying to generate, it's trying to keep that asset fluid, and keep it transitioning. The value is going to come from the business's success. And that will be reflected in our partnerships, that will be reflected in our content, and that will also be reflected in the traffic. It's not, again, a one-trick pony. We have a lot of variables that will increase and decrease the value of the coin, like with anything else. But we're building a much more resistant token especially in the governance, because it's not reliant on the ups and downs and swings of the crypto marketplace and the bear markets. And even if there is a bear market, that doesn't impact us or our output or our partnerships or our relationships. So it's a little bit more in depth and a little bit more complicated than that. But that's kind of the basic idea is that the value of the token for the long term, we want people that are invested in the brand. And as the brand gets bigger, the value of the token, hopefully, obviously we can't speculate on price, but will hopefully increase because we have all of these other revenues that we could be exploring. The utility token, I mean, depending on how it turns out, but I don't envisage it to really kind of rocket or drop or whatever. The whole point of that is to create a liquid economy within the checkpoint framework. Does that work?
Absolutely. And then just one more quick question about how much you're trying to raise for the IDO.
We're trying to raise as much as we can. So our initial coin offering is, again, all of this is available on the kick.io platform, which is the launch pad that we're using. We're selling 25 million tokens to start with. Ideally, we need to be raising between $2.5 and $5 million. That's really kind of what our target is. And, considering where everybody else is raising and what they're doing, we're not trying to spend that money on building multiverses, so we don't need tens of millions. What we're trying to do is develop this space more and get all of the elements in that we need to make it happen and to make it accessible through the browser, and integrate a Cardano wallet and integrate the blockchain into it. So there's a lot of kind of dev stuff that we need to do on the back end. Is that all right? Yeah, so this is, I just want to show you this room really quickly. This isn't finished, but this is our kind of a magazine kind of engagement room. So what will happen is that this space will be filled with more props and elements that you'll be able to kind of engage with. You can see that each of these kind of breakout rooms, they are kind of silent as well because it's a social VR space. If you come in here and you're chatting to somebody, you won't really hear anybody else. We can use this as promotional space. You can interact with content in here. We can display it. There'll be stands that you'll be able to get involved with. This is probably a better one for you to look at because it's actually done, so we can demonstrate the work that we're doing. Say, for example, I don't know, we've got a new Battlefield game, for example, that we're going to be doing. This is by the way, this will be two versions of this. This is the main magazine for the grown-ups, 18 plus, or 16 plus really, and the kids magazine will be for kids, so the content will be relevant to it, but you can showcase some of our articles. We could have advertisers in here. We could have even VR games that you can jump into directly and play from within here as well. But it's just a quick kind of a layout. We can do whatever we really want in this room, and like I say, there'll be lots of other things that we're going to be populating this space with. But I mean, these are just some of the examples that we've done. I mean, we hate Shakespeare, as Nick found out, but we use video games for cultural capital for children, so we use their knowledge of video games to teach them. We don't think Shakespeare or Chaucer or any of that kind of old archaic stuff that was never written for children in the first place should be used. There's lovely Kate Edwards, who, this woman is incredible actually. So she was, if you remember the Encarta, for those of you old enough to remember Encarta, which was pre-Wikipedia, she worked on the kind of localization of all of that. So she worked on all the cultural, the local, the maps, all of that kind of, the old maps and everything else. She went on to do Age of Empires. So all of the maps that you see on Age of Empires came from Kate. I actually bumped into Kate last week, and we're probably going to have another chat next week. We might get her into a live session one of these because she's really interested in getting involved as well. And here are some of the articles that we've written in the magazine. So yeah, we've got Rhianna Pratchett, who from Mirror's Edge fame and other games. Lara Croft, obviously, she did the reboot of Lara Croft, Evolution of RPGs. So the magazine is really a deep dive into content. So we look at things properly. The website is really for news, previews, reviews, and the magazine is for longer form op-eds, features, and that kind of thing. So this will give you an idea of the room and how it's going to look. And what we'll do is, can we go into? Let's go to the waiting room. And this is just like just a kind of another space to show you what we're doing in the kind of the multiverse. This will be demonstrating kind of what our shop front will eventually look like. So when you're looking to buy merch and bits and pieces, you'll be able to do it from a very similar room to here. But obviously this is, at the moment, this is just a waiting room. So if you're waiting, or if we decide to meet and you don't want to meet in the entrance lobby, you guys can come out here and meet here, and you've got obviously access to all of the other rooms. As you can see, we've got the coming soon room, we've got a classroom which I'll quickly take you into as well. But I mean, this is again just a bit of just to show you the kind of stuff that we're doing. Now, I mentioned very briefly about the classroom, so what I'll do is I'll take you into the kids. What I'll do, I'm going to take us back to the lobby and I'll navigate us. So if you want to fire some more questions at me, Nick, as we're navigating to the kids magazine room, then I can answer them as we're travelling.
Yes, I'll cover a few here. One from Cat, KYC. Also want to know what headset you're advocating.
Right now, it's just the Oculus. But hopefully in 8 months' time, 9 months' time, you won't even need a headset at all. But I do know that San and the team at Future Tech Labs are rolling this out across all of headsets. So you'll need to follow Multiverse Online or Future Tech Labs for those announcements.
Excellent. And then going along with that,
Yeah. So the metaverse, the metaverse is built by Future Tech Labs. We have a working relationship with Future Tech Labs. Basically, San, who's built this space, who's built Multiverse Online and Infiniverse, is a friend of mine. He used to work on SSX, the video game. He used to work on Burnout Paradise, the best Burnout game that you can get. He's come from a really interesting game developing background, and I've known him for long enough for us to kind of use this space. And because of that, because of our relationship and because of the way in which San is developing this multiverse space as a social VR experience, we're not paying for the development of this multiverse. Yes, we don't own it, but to be honest with you, like with everything, there's going to be a load of people building a load of multiverses, and only the best ones will stand out. And we don't want to be building and competing. We want to be showcasing our work on the best multiverse platforms out there. I think this is the best, the most accessible, the cheapest. As Samahi's just joined. Hi, Samahi. I'm just doing a VR tour, sorry. But Samahi will have her own room. So when she logs into the metaverse space, she will enter her own room. And from there, she can go to Grand Central Station or navigate wherever she wants. So it's a really exciting space. And as we talk about cross-chain and cross-multiverses, it's not going to matter. Only the best ones are going to survive. And in addition to that, San has built this space, but also on our team is a guy called Vita Poor. Now, Vita is one of the founding members of Somnium Space VR. So if you guys are crypto users and you know Somnium Space, you'll know how big that kind of project is, and it's one of the most successful. So we are not competing with the big boys in that space. That is not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is choose the best multiverse that has the best access. And I know that I can go to San and say, hey, San, listen, we want to make this browser-based. How much will it cost? Can you do it? And San will go, yeah, we'll do it. It'll take this long. It'll take this amount of time. It's going to cost this much. And we know that we will have that deliverable. So that's how the multiverse space works. We don't own this, we haven't built this, but we are partnered with Future Tech Labs. And San is on our team. So San is one of the team members on the Checkpoint brand. Okay?
And when will everything will
Sorry, Nick. One second, Nick.
not yet?
Samahi, sorry, 1 second. I'm just doing a live stream tour, if that's okay. You can stick with us. Let me just answer these questions, and then I can answer your question, if that's okay, yeah?
Okay, thank you.
1 second, sorry.
I'm going to browse, okay.
Okay, perfect. Shukran. Yeah.
of Checkpoint collaborating with schools and other
So let's have a look at this space, shall we? Because this is all about schools and children and kids and everything else. So I think it's a great question. Yes, we truly believe that the marketplace needs to change, and we truly believe that kids are the future, and we truly believe that and it's not just developing countries, it's developed countries with bad education systems like ours in this country. So there needs to be a whole kind of definition of what digital literacy is, and everybody needs to be moving together. The whole world needs to be moving together in that space. The kids magazine is done. So when I spoke about the lesson plans, when I spoke about the magazine, these are just some of the examples that we do in the magazine. So we are constantly feeding children information. We give them challenges to do. Again, all our front covers are unique and they're animated, so the kids will be able to see this will all come to life when you download it. But we also, when we give them the work, we ask them to send their work in, and then we showcase their work in the magazine so they can show it to their friends and celebrate it as well. You've seen the guest editor stuff. You've seen the stuff that we've done in the in the magazine. So this is the kind of challenges that we do in. This is a page from the magazine. You'll be able to press and it'll bring up the answers. So it's fully interactive. You've seen the content and the access that we try to give the children, whether that's from the National Space Observatory, from Team GB, or any Olympic team, the United Nations, the European Space Agency, whatever. And this is a really good example of what we do. This is what we do. So these are the lessons. You can see these lessons. By the way, all of these lessons are available to download from checkpointkids.com for free. We do stuff for schools that teachers can use that are fully resourced, so you don't even need to do any resource, you don't even need to do any background. All of the information, all the worksheets, all of the instructions are there for you. And also for those children that are learning from home or education otherwise, you will be able to access home learning packs that children can do on their own, independently, without a grown-up. Now, this was a lesson that we took into a school. Now, the children in this class were completely disengaged. They are one of the lowest kind of ability children, lowest income family. It's a really difficult school that they come from. You can tell they're not all wearing uniform. So it tells you a little bit about their social economic background. We took Sonic lesson plans in. We split the class up into two. Half of them were responsible for making Sonic the Hedgehog wisps that help Sonic escape. The other half were making Eggman robotic designs to help capture Sonic. They then presented them to each other, and then once they did that, and you could see, you'll see now how excited they got when we first started going in. They were so enthusiastic, just the engagement level, the teacher said, had never been before. They then spoke to Aaron Roseberg. Now, Aaron, not Roseberg, Aaron Rose, I can't remember his name, but Aaron is the executive producer of Sonic. He's the one that makes the decisions on what goes on in the game. And so they presented their ideas to the executive producer of Sonic, who then said that they were brilliant. He spoke to them about Sonic, and they're going to use some of their ideas in the next game if you can. So this is the kind of experience that we give children. We use the video games to help them understand that they can use this as a platform to really learn about themselves, and whatever they learn, they can apply to real life. And that's what we tend to do. This is the kids magazine. This is some examples of the stuff that we have in it. So we are working with a number of schools. We already have done. We've got a number of other kind of local authorities that we're working with as well. An example from the magazine page for the kids, so you can download this. But again, we have a word bank, and if you press those buttons, it reads the word out to you so the kids know how to pronounce them. And these are our words that we use within a themed magazine. So this one was all about poise, perseverance. So this will be about adventure, I think. So these are all the words that are repeated throughout the magazine so that the children can learn about them. So as you can see, we're really proud of the kids magazine, and there's a lot to do around the kids magazine as well. But they can interact, they can listen, they can click answers for the questions that they've done, and you can see that there as well. So yeah, that's the kids magazine. And so there's a lot to do in that space. As we travel, I think I'm going to just take us to the other side, because I'll take you into the classroom. And if you want to ask a couple of questions as we're loading in, Nick, that'll be fine.
I also said, when you wrap it up here in a moment, that we can make a list of questions.
Yeah, perfect. I think I've got about 10 minutes, so if we can, I can run for 10 minutes, and then we can 10 to 15 minutes max, and then we can pick up anything else. This is a classroom. This will be locked for only people that will be able to access this will have a password and a login. Here we can do virtual learning for kids. We can do development courses for teachers. We've actually written a development course for teachers, which we can deliver virtually. Obviously, this will be a lot better when you don't have to wear a headset, because after about half an hour, 40 minutes, especially if you're not used to it, you can get quite nauseous and difficult. So the idea is that we'll be able to have lessons in here, after school clubs, lunch clubs, whatever you want to do, and this will be an absolutely safe space for children and teachers. So I just wanted to quickly show you this room, because I think it's quite nice that you see that this isn't just about VR experiences. This is about actually integrating what we do in our everyday life and kind of blending that VR and AR kind of world together. And as we do that, I'll just take you to the kids gallery quickly. Are there any questions that you want to ask now, Nick?
Sure. There's questions about how everything's available on Classroom 3 has to kind of bankroll project. Will there be merch that's available?
Yes, and yes. So content will stay free, will always stay free, it will always be free, in the same way as when you log onto a website, you'll be able to kind of access that content for free. So yes, that will always be free. How do we bankroll it? Well, like I mentioned before, we have multiple revenue streams. We're not reliant on funding from crypto or funding of the coin. You know, like with everything, eyeballs and footfall, I suppose, in this case, matters. So we will be able to do that absolutely and continue to bankroll it for free. What was the last bit of that question, Nick?
I guess it's kind of a question about revenue streams as a result of the project. Will there be merchandise?
Oh yes, so the merchandise. Yes, there will be, so the NFTs that we've outlined in the. So let me put it this way: we've stopped using the word NFTs and we're starting to use the word digital merchandise, because of the way that we're going to be using the NFT model. So, for example, you will be able to customize your avatar. You will be able to buy merchandise from us. We're working with San on this right at the moment, so the Future Tech Labs guys. There's also the cards, which you'll see on the roadmap, are NFT cards, which are tradable cards. So there's that. And there will be much more merch, which as soon as we get the funding, I'll be able to announce, because honestly, it's really quite exciting. And it has to do with the wider vision of what Checkpoint is doing. So imagine if your avatar and you're walking around and you have a pet, for example. That pet might be something from the Checkpoint world. It might be from a partnership that we have with a game publisher or developer. And so you can see where we're going with this. So the answer is yes. One of the things I just quickly, before we do, I want to show you this space. This is We Celebrate Children. This is where we celebrate all the children. So when they send stuff to the magazine, we might not have room to put everything else. We create a gallery for them. So they can come and look at the work that they've submitted, bring their friends and showcase them. This was done by, I think it was 7-year-olds, and they had to make their own knights and bikes face out of tissue paper or whatever it is. This was based on Ori. They had to make, excuse me, they had to make a character that would prevent the forest from dying, and this is what the kids came up with, and you'll be able to see all of the details in there. It might be a little bit blurry for you guys. Again, it's another Ori one here. My favourite one, the crazy bunny, the fire bunny that protects the forest. I don't know how a fire bunny can protect the forest, but it's incredible. The imagination and that freedom that they're given. This one was to protect the snow. So this was some kind of penguin thing that was protecting a kind of a frozen forest. And so you can see all of this, more Knights and Bikes development stuff. So these kids have made them and they send the pictures, and we use those pictures to kind of showcase the work that they do. This was built on SimCity and Pocket City, so they were asked to build a city. So they were asked to design a city in one of our lesson plans, and this is what they came up with. And so you've got all the information in there as well, which is quite sweet. So you've got place of worship and the shop and the customers go there in that supermarket or whatever, which is quite nice. This is a board game that we built. So remember I was talking about having other stuff and elements that we could have in the magazine? Well, we provide stuff like this, like board games, so kids can then make it and then they can play it in the virtual world, which is amazing. So we want to celebrate the children. We want to celebrate that they work. We want to give them the platform. This is their platform. These were based, so here, look, these ones we use Zoo Tycoon. So David Braeburn, who we saw earlier, Zoo Tycoon is one of their franchises, or Planet Zoo as it's now called. They were asked to make a leaflet, and in here you can see that they get, children to enter as £20, which is quite steep, I think. They've got the opening times and everything else. So they were asked to make a leaflet and think about the type of things that they're going to put in. Here's Finley's one. I think this is Finley, and he's created some crazy zoo here. It's called the Finley Zoo, and again here we've got more. I mean, that's a bit more acceptable. £2 for a child and £4 for an adult to enter. But you can see this zoo was made to stop the extinction of the animals. So this was specifically for animals going extinct. So it's a really lovely thing, and the kids respond to it so incredibly well. I think it's just one of the things that we're really proud of, that we've allowed this kind of platform for children to explore. Now, it's the part of the tour where I take you out of the checkpoint lobby and into the planetarium. So I'm going to let Nick fire some questions, and when I take you into the planetarium, I want you to just understand that the planetarium is what this space will eventually become, and very quickly, because you'll see that it already exists. So I'll just quickly show you the planetarium, and then I'll be able to kind of answer any questions on the get-go. So this is the first thing that was built in the multiverse, actually, is the planetarium. This is the first thing that San built, and you can see it's a beautiful space, designed in such a way. By the way, just so that you're aware, and I'm pretty sure I'm accurate in saying this, the star chart that you see above you is the actual star, the night sky in the northern hemisphere, I think. I'll have to double check that with Sam, but because Star Chart, I don't know if anybody ever downloaded Star Chart AR or VR, one of the first ever VR apps on smartphones. Well, that was built by Sam, and that shows the whole universe. So I think he's just brought that in here. But you can see when I was talking about kind of interacting with content, we can start interacting with content here. So you'll be able to listen to stuff. You've seen the videos in the other room. There's stands that we could be... Oh, where am I going? There are stands that we could be going and exploring. You can really look at some of the, some incredible stuff. This is modelled on the actual, on the actual discovery that was sent out to space. So this is all as accurate as it can be. You can find out more about it. But more importantly, do you remember how I was talking about having props and stuff to play with? Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So you can do this kind of stuff. Too close to the sun. Icarus. I've gone Icarus, guys. But yeah, so you can start messing around with rockets and playing with them. But rockets is just one example. So you can see where I'm trying to kind of head to with this. And you can see the way that you can access all the different areas and the kind of the completion of this project. So basically, whatever we want to do with our content, we can, and I think that's the really quite exciting thing about it. So I just want to see if I can get that orbiting. Here we go. There it is. It's orbiting. It's orbiting, guys. We'll see that come back round up this way. Hopefully, if it doesn't hit anything on the other side. So happy to take some questions. If anybody has any more questions on this at all. It didn't make it, did it? The rocket didn't make it. Oh, hey, man. Sorry. I'm just doing a tour. I'll be with you in 2 moments. Thank you. Sorry, go on. Yeah, this is not a game. This is a consider this as a kind of interactive website, right? So no, you don't need any money to do it. You will need money if you want to buy our merch, obviously, but to access our content, no, you don't need money. This isn't a game either. So we're not building a game, we're not a game developer, we're not a game publisher. We have access to all of those people. They're much smarter people than me building video games. So no, this is a experience. This is a way for you to interact with our content and to showcase how we can use Web3, blockchain, and everything else to basically show the best kind of content that we can create. Well, let's get the cross-chain thing working first, and then let's have a look at what opportunities arise. One of the reasons that we've gone down the Cardano route is not only for all of the things that I explained before, but more importantly because there are no stupid gas fees. If we want to make this accessible, affordable, and everything else, then it's really important that people are able to utilize the material, the content, without having any barrier to entry. So let's wait and see how cross-chain develops. Let's see what platforms work. Let's see what tie in with what we're doing, and then we can kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. But I don't think it's wise to start kind of predicting. There may be a blockchain that hasn't even been invented yet that will will kick out, Mutable X and Solana and Polygon and all of these things out of the water. We have no idea. So I don't think it's particularly wise to start thinking about other cross-chain platforms. I think let's stick with Cardano. We're happy with Cardano, and there are some really smart guys working on cross-chain stuff. Okay. Whether it lasts or not, I don't think is the issue. It's here, right? And it's being utilized. And if you look at statistics and you do your research, this space is not going anywhere. It's going to, in a couple of years' time, it's going to be worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. Skeptics have always existed. We've had them at the start of the printing press. We had them at the start of radio, at the start of TV. All of these things. Even at the start of the web, right? Everything is bad, and everything is dangerous, and everything is a fad, and everything is. The only thing that I can think of in the last sort of 20 years that's been a fad that hasn't really kicked off has been 3D TVs. Everything else has. And this is the beauty of the blockchain and Web3 and multiverse, but specifically the blockchain, is that it liberates the creativity of people and allows them a platform to build on. It's something that we've never had before. In the same way as social media has allowed for everybody, whether right or not, to have a voice, Web3 and the blockchain and the multiverse will allow people to create experiences and engage in a way that they've never done before. So anybody who says otherwise, don't really think sees the potential or understands where the future's going, and doesn't see this as the first step to the next stage of where we're evolving in this digital realm. I have friends that have written articles about this kind of stuff, which I've had huge arguments with, because they don't get it. You can bury your head in the sand if you want, but it's here. And in order for us to make sure that we control this space and that we don't have the same mistake as we did with Web 2.0, with big companies like Google and Facebook owning the whole space and using your data and selling it, and we have to be involved with it right from the very beginning. And what Checkpoint is doing is demonstrating that you don't have to be a money-grabbing organisation in order to access this. And the other thing is that Future Tech Labs allows you this content for free. If you've got a headset, you can create an account and come into your world. You'll have your own room. You don't have to spend any money. So, yeah, I could spend the next 2 hours talking about this. I won't, but you can probably read my thoughts on this on one of the articles that we've put out, I think, Nick. And I think as far as the secret kind of word or whatever it is. Remember I said that we were talking about something, a front cover with a really cool basketball player on? Well, just bear that in mind. I think I mentioned, I think I only mentioned one player, didn't I? Kobe Bryant from the LA Lakers, formerly. God rest his soul. But there is, obviously make sure that you understand that there is a secret there with Kobe Bryant. I think that's all I have to say on that. Is that all right? Sorry, Nick. Yeah? I'm just going to take the headset off because I'm a little bit stuck. There we go. Excuse me. So,